spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York.
Hi, I'm Nathan Camarillo, executive producer for Crysis 2. So Crysis 2 takes place in New York. It's a new setting for us. We looked at what we did after Crysis 1, and we were looking for a new setting, a new way to tell a story, and enhance the storytelling that we were doing over Crysis 1. So one of the key parts of that was giving the story a context and a location that people actually cared about, because while the visual stylings of the jungle were really appreciated in Crysis 1, in the end it wasn't a location that anyone cared about when the story was over. You know, the story went from regular jungle, the story of the island itself went from regular jungle to frozen jungle to you know, a mountain falling apart with an alien structure inside, but in the end you didn't care that that happened to the island. It was nowhere you ever went, no place you'll ever go. You just knew it was in the Pacific, it had North Koreans all over it. You know, that was it. So we wanted to set the game in a place that had a lot more resonance and context for players, and it was a place that had a story in its own, and a story that would continue even after the player had left. And so we looked at locations all over the world, and New York always wound up at the top of that list. Crysis 2, the main objective for it was making it multi-platform and bringing Crysis-style gameplay onto consoles for the first time. So, I mean, that's been our main objective and our main focus from beginning to end is, you know, getting it running on console. Can we make it run on console? Can we bring this kind of game to a much broader audience? Because we want as many people playing this kind of game that we're offering as possible. And we've made, you know, really strong strides in technology and gameplay design to make that happen. You know, everything has challenges. Anytime that you switch from being a PC developer to console, it's always, oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, anytime you switch from being a PC developer to working on console, I mean, there's no number of challenges that you might face. But again, they're all just challenges, and that's what Crytek loves. So it's a new way of working for us and a new way of making a new challenge for us to defeat. And so far, we're doing that. Our great technology in CryEngine 3 makes that possible. We're scalable per platform, both PC, 360, and PS3. So we're offering a great gaming experience regardless of what platform someone chooses. There's several new innovations that we have in Crysis 2. The most important one is refinements that we're making to the nanosuit and the nanosuit style of gameplay. So in Crysis 1, we offered the nanosuit for the first time as part of our IP offering and what makes, you know, Crysis what it is. And what it did was it gave first-person shooter gamers the ability to temporarily turn on and off these powers that gave them armor, speed, you know, strength, mobility, this kind of stuff, stealth. It allowed players to quickly make decisions, but what we found was that gamers were combining these together to make a style of gaming rather than having a favorite suit power. So people would combine speed and stealth together in order to create like a Predator-style gameplay where they could get really, really close to enemies and then interact on like a very close and personal level, acting like a cat would play with its food before it eats it. And they would find, you know, one guy in a patrol and attack him and agitate the whole group and then run and go hide and then go back in and get the next guy. And they would do this and very much harass the enemies in the game. And you had another style that played like action heroes. And so what they would do is use mobility and armor together to get into the middle of combat and survive as many enemy combatants as possible, and explosions and everything going off around them. They're like a Hulk or a superhero or an action hero. And then we had another group of people that used the long-range combat with the stealth together to be kind of like a hitman. So we've refined the suit in Crysis 2 around not only the setting of New York, but also these gamer styles that we found people are playing in. By default, the base mode of the nanosuit is more powerful. We give you the speed of sprinting and the strength aspect of jumping all together in that one mode. So you're more mobile and you're more agile in an urban environment. and you can get to places more quickly. But then on top of that, you can layer the stealth mode or stealth style gameplay from the original Crysis, or switch and layer armor on top of that. So you can be very mobile, but withstand a lot of damage or withstand a lot of bullets. So you can be very mobile and then quickly hide when you need to. Or you can hide and then use your visor to gain tactical information and plan your attack. So the suit and the suit modes or powers are very, very accessible to the player, both on PC and on controller. But it's about how they use these to enhance this gamer style, and that's really what we're after as a key innovation for Crysis 2. Another thing that New York provides us is the fact that we can do more of a 3D sandbox than we could do in Crysis 1. So it's like a vertical sandbox. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily playing while looking straight up and down, but what it does mean is that we have elevations and height and terrain where you can go over or under specific areas. And if you look at the sandboxes that we had in Crysis 2, it was very terrain based, so it may go higher and lower, but it was all based on earth and ground. But in Crysis 2, you can go on top of buildings, inside of buildings, 1 or 2 stories up and down, jump on trucks, slide under trucks, use ground-based combat. You can go into sewers, out of sewers, into drain pipes. There's a lot of opportunity to go up and down. And so the sandbox becomes really more three-dimensional than it did in Crysis, where it was just a slight elevation change, and maybe you were overlooking something, but nothing could really get underneath you, or you really couldn't get on top of something. So it's a big change for us to have that kind of gameplay. It's quite exciting. Vehicles are a staple in the Crysis universe, and we plan on offering some vehicles in the Crysis 2 as well for gamers to interact with and operate and drive. But we'll talk about more specifically what that means at a later date.
We cannot fight new wars with old weapons. Let him who desires peace prepare for war.
I can't go into any details on the story right now. I mean, there's a lot of speculation and conjecture about what it means, and I want to let the story sit as much as possible until we release the game. So. What makes me particularly proud is the fact that we have a great team. It's one of the greatest teams in the world, working on some of the greatest technology in the world, and it all adds up to make one of the greatest games in the world. I mean, it's a really exciting project to be on and be a part of, and everyone does phenomenal work every day, and we can't wait for gamers to get their hands on it and play it themselves.